candidates, other information places, Water Park. Where's David? David is back there with Water Park. And Bonnie just came in and she's selling hats. If any women here, now you missed the 3. Oh, I have one more. A free hat if you promise to wear it at the march on the 20th. Oh, I love it. Peter. I love it.
Should I practice now?
You may. It's a nice warm hat. Nice warm hat. The march is at noon and it starts at the Freedom Center, underground Freedom Center down on the banks. Let's see. Bob isn't here. Oh, Peter, that is so becoming. I like it. It does you well. Isn't it nice? It feels good today. Yeah. There's Monica here. And Lacey. Okay, that brings us to Marcia. Marcia with the campaign for Sherrod Brown.
Hi. I have a petition, a nominating petition for Sherrod Brown, which will get him on the ballot. We circulated the petitions early in November, and there was an error on it, so if you signed it early, we had to start over. So we're collecting a new set of petition signatures, so if you sign, you need to be a registered Democrat.
Could you put that up to your mouth? I can't hear words you're saying, and I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Should I start all over?
Yes.
All right. Sorry. My name's Marcia. I'm circulating a petition for nominating Sherrod Brown to get him on the ballot. The original petition had an error on it, so we had to start over after around November. So this is the second time around, so if you didn't sign it, say around Christmas, and you're a registered Democrat or no party, you can sign the petition. So I'll be circulating around. Thank you.
I have a horror story to tell you. David Hughes, who's our water person, went to sign up to be a precinct executive on my recommendation. You won't believe this, folks. He found out that he's a registered Republican. After coming to every meeting for a year, at this meeting, it turns out he's a Republican, a secret Republican. And he has to actually vote as a Democrat before they'll allow him to be, he has to register as a Democrat before they will allow, and vote as a Democrat before they will allow him to be a precinct executive. You know, I did that precinct executive, you know, sign up to be a precinct executive, called Caleb at the, yeah, well, he tried. Found out he was a Republican. He didn't know. But he does now, and he's going to make it right. Okay, we have signs. Monica is not here, but we have those wonderful neighborhood signs. They're $10 a piece, and I will get the $10 to Monica. There, David is waving them. And William Messer, he usually comes a little later in the meeting, put one of those in his neighborhood, and one of his Muslim neighbors came over and left him a dozen white roses, which is very nice. I'm not saying that's going to happen if you buy the sign. Hasn't happened to me yet. I put a sign up in my neighborhood. Hold up the sign again. It's over. There's David. See the sign? It's in 3 languages.
Who's got the microphone?
It's over there. Put it back on.
Okay.
Peter needs.
So anybody else needs to make an announcement? Pete, here comes Peter.
I was just in my mind thinking, well, what's good in my car window?
Thanks to the saintly patience of Ellen Burhurst, I'm gradually mastering MailChimp.
Woohoo.
But if for any reason you didn't get your email, I have cards. Please print your email address, and I promise to get it in there. And any announcements that anyone would like in the next newsletter should also be printed on one of these cards. Thank you.
Peter is very good about that, so if you have an announcement from some organization that you're in charge of or work with, please get that to Peter. There he is, raise your hand, he'll get them to you. Go for it, or just see where he is, that handsome guy with the beard. Okay. Any other announcements?
Right here.
Okay. Katie.
Next week, Betsy DeVos and the Department of Education is basically having a Schools Choice Week. So in other words, encouraging people to make choices to other things than the public schools. So we as a organization decided that this week would be Public Schools Week. And we have contacted PG Sittenfeld, who's the head of the Education Committee for Cincinnati City Council, and he is going to be putting together a proclamation. He's going to be presenting it to the Cincinnati City Council at 2 o'clock on Thursday. A group of us from the Cincinnati Educational Justice Coalition are going to be there at 12:30 to offer testimony. And PG then will come to the microphone and present that to Cincinnati City Council. Anybody who would like to be there, we would love to have you. Then the week of, on February 7th is the 1-year anniversary of Betsy DeVos being presented and selected by the Senate. So there is going to be a 1-year report card issued on Betsy DeVos. And so that day at noon, we're going to be at Portman's office and then at Brown's office to basically present the findings of that 1-year report card. So anybody who would like to join us at noon, and we're going to start off at Brown's office because he's been very supportive, and then we're going to go to Portman's office. Not that he's going to be there, but just to say, okay, this is what you voted for. Now look at the mess that we're in.
Will you put these events on the?
Yes, we'll do.
The Facebook
Okay.
page, thank you.
And so, the interesting thing is, on Tuesday, the 6th, PG Sittenfeld will be here for that meeting that day. And so his focus is going to be really about public education and his agenda for public education in Cincinnati. Thank you.
Other announcements? Thank you, Katie. Other announcements? Okay. So I have this really good-looking speaker to introduce to you today. Her name is... No.
Janet.
Dr. Janet Everhard for U.S. Congress, We the People for a Change. She is, I got it all here, I promise you, gynecologic physician and surgeon. I couldn't imagine all of these things. Where do you get the time? Volunteer veteran outreach coordinator, an event planner, an ACA instructor, and a photographer. She's an activist founder of the USA Works community. I like this one. Founder of the Tri-State Kayakers. That means she gets exercise. That's good. Team member of the New Richmond Economic Development, and an author and photographer. I didn't realize you were an author. What do you write?
Right now, I write political message.
And without further ado, Dr. Janet Everhard.
Thank you so much, everyone. I am so happy that you all showed up today. I thought I'd be here by myself, shivering and eating all the Chinese food here. So I'm so glad that you're here today. This is a day where you're going to teach me a thing or two. I'm not going to stand up here and talk. You all have a red card and a green card. Green means go. Yes, green light, right? Red says stop, no. And we're going to discuss some things that have been concerning me throughout my entire campaign. Now, as Alberta said, I'm Dr. Janet Everhard. I'm your neighbor in New Richmond, Ohio, Claremont County. A physician, volunteer to veterans, and I want to make sure that every single one of us has access to affordable, quality health care, and working families earn a living wage. And when I say this to voters across the district, across the 8 counties of District 2, as I'm running for Congress, I let them know that, but the next question I have is, so what do you think about that? Now, a year and a half ago, the response would have been, well, are you a Republican or a Democrat? And if I'd handed them my card, they would have turned it back to me and the discussion would have been over. But this year, as I was listening to voters across the district, I should stand back a little bit, across the district, and I put 26,000 miles on my car this year. We traveled around the globe, thank you, around the globe in the 8 counties of District 2. And in that 26,000 miles and the thousands of voters that I listened to, the response this year to universal access to health care and a living wage, quite progressive ideas, that response was a glint in their eye, 2 thumbs up. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Positivity reigned throughout the district. And I've reported it to y'all before. You know, I show up here often because I enjoy this group so much. And so I've told you that the mood of the entire electorate has changed. But what's concerned me this entire time of my running is that some of the ideas that I had, my own moral compass about how I should act as a candidate, what I should be as a candidate, what I should represent as a candidate, what are the talents and the qualities, what do I bring to the table? We all bring something to the table. And what do I bring to the table? Why you should have anything to do with me trying to be your representative in Washington? And so I've been questioning that all along. And when I'd come up with an idea and I'd think, okay, I need to make it so that I accept only individual donors for my money for my campaign, for investment in my campaign. That if I take corporate PAC money, if I take lobbyist money, if I take this LLC money that exceeds my limits, I've stole my soul, just like the representative that is our incumbent right now. But I'm thinking, am I out there? Because party leaders said, oh no, without that big money, you're not going to win. You're not going to beat Wenstrup. And so I'm second guessing myself throughout this whole process. The things that make so much sense to me in a moral way, I'm being told I'm wrong sometimes. And so that's why I want to lean on your collective wisdom today. I've enjoyed this group so much because you all, for one thing, aren't afraid to speak your mind. You're not going to yes ma'am me, are you? And along with that, the wisdom of this fine Democratic group is really valuable to me. I want to learn from you. So today we're going to have. I'm going to throw out questions to you. Sometimes it's just a simple yes/no question, and that'll be where your green-red comes into play. If it's yes, green light, give me a green. If it's no to that question, give me a red, and we'll be able to get a consensus from everybody here. And then there's some questions that are just very few, because we don't have a whole lot of time today, but there's a few questions where I want you to kind of take the 2 other people that are surrounding you, and each one of you talk to each other for about a minute. This isn't really a discussion, but I want sometimes it's only the extroverts that get to talk in a crowd like this. And those of you who are usually keep mum, I want you to be able to talk today too. And we'll record our results on the big sheets of paper, and Katie and Marlene is going to help. And at the end, we'll summarize. And I'm hoping that we can get a reasonable consensus, maybe not, maybe this is going to be a split crowd, but I'm hoping we can get a reasonable consensus on what we want from our candidates. That's the subject today. What we want from our candidates. And let me get my computer here together, and we'll start asking our questions. Hold on here. Okay. So, my first question is about,
I'll go to the beginning.
my first three questions actually is about big money in politics. It pains me when a celebrity says, I want to run for president, or I want to run for my legislator, when Jerry Springer was floating the idea that he was going to run against me. That was a scary thought. And I want to know, do you want celebrities to run for office?
If you hold up both.
Yeah, yeah, you can. If you're mixed on it, please hold up both. If you're mixed, if you think, well, in some circumstances it would be okay, and in others it wouldn't. Okay, so I'm seeing mostly no, but some mixed here. And on the mixed, does it matter to you the office? Whether it's, say, legislator or president? Do you think that that it would be okay for a celebrity to be a president or a legislator? Susan, what's the difference there for you? No, you're just not sure about.
Doesn't make any difference.
Okay, it's immaterial to you. If someone's a celebrity, if Oprah wants to run for president, you're going to think about her other qualities, not so much of her celebrity. Right. Okay, yeah, how about that, Mike?
I just want someone to beat the Republicans.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's Oprah, okay.
Okay, so for you, winning is everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, all right, yeah.
I was just going to say, it depends on the celebrity. Because
Okay,
there are some that are very informed and would do a good job.
Okay.
And there are others that are strictly,
okay. Well, I'm going to ask Alberta, where's she? Alberta, you got a phone call from a pollster who asked you about what you thought about Jerry Springer. Can we ask you to describe that?
The call was, they named 3 people running for Congress from District 2. They named Janet Everhard, Jerry Springer, and somebody else. And I said, Janet Everhard, of course! And they seemed a little shocked, but they hung up.
Why?
I don't know why they hung up.
No, why did you say that?
I said that because you had come to a dozen meetings, and I knew who you were, and I thought you were more than capable of doing the job and doing it well. And I have to tell you, I like Jerry Springer's politics. He's a very fine Democrat. And he's one of the few people that I would endorse, but I feel like she's the one who has been running for this office, and she ought to get a chance.
Thank you very much. Okay, hey, we've got Peter. I've got some competition over here. Hi, sweetheart. Okay, so my next question is still on big money in politics. And this concerns the source of donations. Now, hold on here. Source of donations. Early on, as I said, I did not want to take corporate PAC money. The individual donors were going to help me in this effort, invest in my efforts to take on the Tea Party podiatrist. Party leaders said that that was a problem. What do you think? Should I be taking corporate PAC, lobbyist, and LLC donations? Okay, so some people say I should. And Jim, why do you think I should?
I think the money is useful. And,
He needs a mic.
Oh, you sure do.
well, I'll speak louder.
No, you need a mic.
You need a mic.
I think the money is useful, and the corporate taint will not be any greater than the Republicans' corporate taint. And I think the alternative of asking people for $1 or $5 donations is really kind of hokey. And I feel like I'm being asked to join up and get the first decoder ring on my block or something. If you have a grassroots, if you're going to catch fire and have a lot of people enthusiastic, they'll send in $5. But starting off thinking you can get people enthusiastic by asking for $5, I don't think works very well.
Yeah, and Jim, you're talking about some of the difficulty we face in small donors, and so that's why I'm going to ask you for $100 to my campaign at everhardforcongress.org. Thank you so much.
I kind of like that, what you just said. Why go for $1 or $2? But the other thing is, the opposition is going to, it's a very dirty campaign. They will find something to just beat you over the head with, and you need the money not to defend yourself, but you need the money to speak the truth about what's being pushed on you as a negative.
Yes, I understand that. How would I ever, although I'm not really a first-time candidate since I was a write-in candidate, how would I ever compete with the millions that could be pushed into the 2nd Congressional District to support the podiatrist if, in fact, we're competing on money? I'd like there to be a difference between me and Winstrup. It's not just his voting record, because I'm not going to go after his character or anything about him personally. His voting record is quite obscene, but I want there to be a big difference, that I am not beholden to anyone, and that when Duke Energy gives him $12,000 and he can't show up for the neighbors opposed to pipeline expansion, or he cannot show up in our fight for net neutrality because he's received the money from the telecoms, his hands are tied. He has checks in his back pocket that keep him from doing the right thing. I don't ever want that to happen. Yeah, Susan.
To me, the question is what conditions they put on the money that they give you. If you say, I will take the money, but I will vote in good conscience, and what represents the people, the business, the environment, all of those things, then if they say, fine, I'm still giving you the money and there's no conditions, I think you can take the money.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you so much, Susan. Yeah, Peter?
Thanks. Along the same point, I think one of Bernie's strongest arguments against Hillary was that corporations don't invest $240,000 for a speech unless they expect to get something for it. And the more important relevant for here is that those of us who held up red cards need to put our money where our mouth is.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. You are so very right, Peter. Okay, now our next question.
Wait a minute, can I just give an example?
Sure, can you talk loud enough?
Yes, you're talking about small contributions. I just want to give you a slight example of what can be done. After the Bengals beat the Ravens, all those people from Buffalo sent $17 apiece to the Andy Dalton Foundation, over $500,000 from a little bit of people who were Buffalo fans in Buffalo, New York. If that can be done, then we, the little people, can make a difference.
Thank you very much. We can only hope. We can only hope. The next question I have is, do you think that a candidate should be funding their own campaign? When a party leader says to me, well, Janet, we expect you to donate $100,000 to your campaign. I live on a fixed income. And I laughed. I said, so only rich people can run? They said, we expect you to fund your campaign with $100,000. What do you think about that? Should a candidate fund their own campaign? Okay, we've got a clear no, and thank you very much. I figured that 2 years of 7-day-a-week time and 26,000 miles on my car in 1 year is my donation to the campaign. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to go on to track record here. This is something that I would like you all to discuss a little bit amongst yourselves, is what kind of leadership or vocational experience do you expect in your candidates? Do you think that a political resume is necessary or desirable? Let me know that, well, let's see what you think. Do you think, and this doesn't have to be for president, this can be for really any office. I especially believe that the office of a representative is one that can draw from lots of different fields, maybe not president so much, but see what you think. So I want to give you just a few minutes to discuss among the two people that are next to you, about a minute each. Tell us what you think about what kind of leadership or vocational experience a candidate should have. Go. Okay, all right. Let's wrap this up. I just want to give you just a couple minutes. Just a couple minutes. So what I heard as I went around, and we'll have you throw out a few things, I heard, I'm sick of lawyers. That's one thing I heard. I heard, I want someone to have experience in the community that they're asking for the vote, which I just love that very much. I heard despair that our president doesn't have political, so on the opposite side, that our president doesn't have political experience. So maybe we do have a different idea about what a president or an executive, you know, our government executives, like mayor, like governor, like president, perhaps we want them to be more prepared for the job than our representatives who we really maybe want just to listen to us and solve some problems. How about, Peter, what do you think?
I was just remembering when you raised the question when David Pepper was here, he said what we need is a bench of people who are really committed to public service and have a record of public service. And that doesn't necessarily mean elective office, but it does mean real engagement. And the point Susan raised too is people really have to, and this is, Trump is the worst example, have to have some genuine understanding of how the political system works. You don't have to like it, but you have to know it.
Yes. Yes, that's very important. This is the question that when someone calls me and says, I want to run for whatever, and I get those questions all the time. They'll say, I want to run for school board, I want to run for precinct executive, I want to run for state rep. And I hear this all the time, and my first question to them, and really my only question to them, is what have you done for community service to your future constituents? What have you done as a private citizen? What public service have you performed as a private citizen? Because if they don't have that, I'm not going to waste my time talking to them. I'll say, well, you know, looks like you could build your resume, and it doesn't matter what it is. Perhaps it's affordable housing, perhaps it's homelessness, perhaps it doesn't really matter. As long as you're engaged with your electorate, as long as you're, yes, exactly, Sid, absolutely, you're right. And you see, he's applauding, he knows, he doesn't have his red, we'll give you a red green card so that you. But that's my question to every single candidate, and it's surprising to me where they'll say, oh, well, I just moved here, and so I really don't even know what's happening right here. And I say, oh, why don't you settle in a bit? You know, you don't have to have been here for generations, but hey, why don't you settle in a bit so that you know the pulse of the people that you're going to be representing. So I think this is important on that. Okay, well, let's go on to my next question. Hold on here. Oh, I've lost mine. It's right down here. Sorry about that.
Just say something.
Sure.
Trump's problem is not that he didn't have political experience.
That's one of the problems.
I mean,
Sure. It's not just that.
If he had wanted to learn what it takes in his position to get what he wants, he could have done that. There are plenty of ways he could have done that.
And if he paid attention to his advisors. I mean, we've had presidents that, pretty well, pass things off to their advisors, their vice president, their whatever. We didn't maybe respect that a lot, but the business of government still got done by people who knew what they were doing. And so,
Truman didn't have major political experience when he went into politics. He ended up being one of our best presidents.
Yes.
His wife did a lot of that when he got so sick.
Oh,
Remember that?
Okay, you all know that Truman history, although I came from Kansas City area, so I should know that.
That's the Japanese about Truman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so would you agree that a physician who has practiced listening, who can empathize with people no matter whether we agree or disagree on an issue, who can take complex problems and add the statistics and the experts and distill it down to simple solutions, and who is used to making decisions under great stress? You think those might be helpful to going to Washington? Okay, all right, good. I appreciate that very much. All right, good. Okay, so we agree with that.
Who do we know like that?
Oh, I don't know. Okay. So now I want to talk about appearance, style, age, gender, race, ethnicity. These things that are on our outsides, okay, not on our insides. We'll talk about the insides next. Those outside things. This is one thing that has caused me a lot of consternation with the party and everything, because this is where, to me, the racism, ageism, sexism, all the isms start to show up on our outer appearance. And it bothers me really when we describe someone's appearance and denigrate them because of it. I don't know. I don't know how you feel on that. So I'm going to ask you, should a candidate look like a fashion model or an actor or actress? Yeah, you should try to look your best, somebody said. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Well, you should dress business nice.
Okay.
I mean, put together whatever you want.
Okay. How about the times when I'm out there canvassing and I'm rushing into something and I've got my sweaty t-shirt on because I've been speaking with voters. How's that work for you? That doesn't work for you? I gotta go back to New Richmond and take a shower and change and do that.
I think men can get away with that better than women.
Well, you're right on that double standard, absolutely.
What did she say?
She said men can get away with that better than women, absolutely. There's a,
But if you're,
Katie.
like, downtown, Heart Mini Marathon, you've just done that, you've participated in that, then that's an appropriate place to be sweaty. Or if you're in a community event where everybody is kind of sweaty, that's appropriate, because then you are one of the people.
Thank you, Katie, thank you very much with that, because you cannot believe the times I've frozen, sweated, hair awry, photos of it, to document it. And it's like, I just say, well, it's real. And that's something that all I can say. Now, assuming all things are equal, would you want a younger candidate or someone who has wisdom and fresh ideas? Let's say, do you want younger candidates?
What is young?
Oh, younger. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's say, do we want the candidates that are in their 20s to be, no, they can't be I don't think you can be a representative until you're 30. So let's say.
25.
Oh, is it 25? Is it?
25.
Okay, do we want the 25 to 35-year-old, do we prefer that? All things being equal, do we prefer that? Let's see, red or green?
All things being equal, yeah.
All things being equal, okay. All right, so we've got some mixed on that, so it doesn't matter too much to a lot of people. Yeah.
In the primary, I'd like to see young people in because that will serve all of us. It's like money serving all of us when it's used correctly. We need to get young faces in our party, especially for local elections. We ought to support them well.
Okay, so Dick is saying that we want to encourage young candidates because, for one thing, they're going to be our future bench, right? And that they bring a different perspective, perhaps, and absolutely that in a primary situation, we don't want them to be a sacrificial lamb for us, where they put their money and their young family's time into a doomed race, but we certainly want to listen and encourage. Okay, all right, good. How about male and female candidates? The Democratic Party is, and I see this all the time, and this is one of my big complaints, and they hate it that I second guess them on this, but they pick their rising stars. Who are the rising stars? The rising stars are young men that, no, not Roper. They're young men who are good-looking young men. Has anybody ever heard of a woman as a designated rising star? I didn't see it. I didn't see Tamaya being designated as a rising star, yet she most certainly is. Yeah.
We have Alicia Reese. She's pretty.
Did they, as she started to run, and you remember this better than I, as she started to run, did they designate her as a rising star?
Sure.
Or did it take a while? So they
I think
realized.
she has the personality and charisma.
She absolutely does. She most absolutely does. But my question is, right off the bat, do we prefer male candidates?
Males prefer male candidates.
No, I want to know. I want to know, the guys here, everybody. Do you prefer a male candidate? Okay. Okay. Conversely, do you prefer a female candidate? Some people do. Okay. And tell me why you do. Just because.
I would like to see equal representation in my government.
Thank you so much. That's, I think, the place where this outside part starts to make sense. Is it working? It's not working?
It's not working suddenly.
Okay, I don't know. So, am I going in and out? I think this, when we're talking about the color of skin versus content of character business, I think where it does start to make sense is where I think maybe we all want our representatives to look like us on a big scale, okay? You don't. But I think that when I see a Congress that works, it's not a Congress of straight white males. It's a Congress that looks like the electorate. And so that means encouraging women, encouraging people of color, encouraging young, old, different professions, whatever, encouraging diversity in Congress, for God's sake. And so, you know, does that resonate with anybody? That, Dick?
Yeah. Women are the greatest change agents today. I want to see more women in there. We're going to the parade on Saturday, and we should work with that.
Okay, so that's going to be at the Women's March on Saturday, is what Dick is alluding to. I hope to see you all there at noon at the patio, the back of the Freedom Center. You'll see the Everhard for Congress campaign in a big way, and I really hope that will be a celebration of what women have done this year, because as you all know, the feminine energy this year has been off the charts. So maybe we'll put that, no, we're not going to prefer women, but we are going to encourage a diverse representation of the people. How about that? Okay.
Peter wants to say something.
Sure.
I'm giving it to you because I'm going to get my phone back.
I just read recently that men have 10 times the testosterone of women, which means it's much harder for male politicians to admit they're wrong. I mean, there was yeah, no, I mean, there's a very grim thing that came out on these tapes on the 60s, and Lyndon Johnson knew perfectly well that we could not win in Vietnam, but he couldn't bring himself to say it in public. And again, I think that's a kind of testosterone problem.
That's interesting. I will say, having a bit of expertise in male and female hormones, I never realized that testosterone meant stubborn and yielding. But thank you for that input. We'll see if there's some scientific evidence that'll back you up on that. I kind of think not, but that's okay. Okay, my next question for you is, and this is something that has to do with our governor's race. In our governor's race, there's a concern that one of our candidates is reserved and kind of wonkish. So do you want a fiery fighter? Do you prefer that over a wonkish executive that deals in details? Let's ask that. Okay, so who wants fiery? Who wants fiery?
What do you mean by fire?
Okay, well, we talked about Alicia Reese and what an excellent candidate she is, and if she were here, she'd be riling us up, and we would be cheering, and we would be on her side, right? Because that's her talent, is exceptional. And when Richard Cordray is running for governor, and we start to hear him speak, I love the guy, I think he's fantastic. He's warm. If you haven't met him, he's warm in person, and he really includes you. But I've heard people say, oh, I don't want to hear his speeches. They're boring. So what problem is there with boring when somebody's going to do a good job with us for us in this governor's seat? This is what I want to know from you. So do we vote because a speaker riled us up? Let's put it that way. Do we? Sometimes you do. Okay. So it's mixed. Okay. So what I've thought about is that I do feel there's a need for inspiration. We want to feel inspired. We want to feel that there's someone fighting for us who has our backs. And so maybe it takes a little bit of, I call it my mama bear. When my mama bear comes out and I don't want to be outraged at every last thing. We'd be outraged every single day of our life. And gosh, that's not healthy. But does there need to be a source of inspiration coming from the people that are representing us? Yeah.
The answer is yes. Two things. A learned guy that reads a lot of books said that was written that 85% of the people vote on emotions. And one other thing, get it out. I worked as a lobbyist with Friends, the Quakers, and what I noticed, we visit with Winstrop because he's in my district, even though I live way on the left side of town. Anyway, I've noticed, right before the holidays and on now, he's just spewing out all these good things he's doing on the internet. Plus, just last week I got this huge cart fold out of all the good things he's done with our taxes.
Paid for by taxpayers.
Yeah, somebody's paying for all these brochures and everything. So I just want to let you know, he's, in my opinion, he's concerned about him being re-elected. It's a good thing for you.
Yes, pay that lovely brochure that cost big bucks was paid for by the taxpayers, yes.
I just want to know what the candidate knows and what I know about them. I'm thinking of Richard Cordray. He's done a wonderful job as the Consumer Protection Bureau. He didn't have to be firebrand, but he went at it and he did wonderful things.
Yes, I think that resume, when we talk about, when we see a resume of Richard and Betty Sutton, wow. I mean, that is impressive. And then if you met either one of them, you know the warmth and the caring. You start to realize that, come on, you start to realize that this is a very special time in history for us, and that we are extremely lucky to have all the good candidates for governor, and along with Connie and Joe Schiboni.
I was just going to ask, I know our time's limited, and I heard from some of your comments. I wonder what kind of support you're receiving from the Ohio Democratic Party and the National Party, and if it's not what it ought to be, what can we do to help?
Yeah, unfortunately, District 2, over the last 3 elections, 2 of those elections were dominated by a non-candidate, William R. Smith. Now, if anybody ever wants to go for a beer and hear the story of why Smith's name was on the ballot and why he won the primaries in 2012 and 2016, it's quite a story of corruption and disenfranchisement. And that's why I was a writing candidate, to protest that and to stop that for the party. They didn't come to me. I came to them and I said, what are we going to do? Are we going to roll over and play dead that this name, this non-candidate, not a real candidate, is still on the ballot? And they said, this name is too powerful. People think he's the incumbent. He's been on the last 3 ballots. And I said, you know what? I'm going to protest that. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to be the writing candidate and try to educate voters that they've been duped by this situation. And we'll go into it, and Marsha Okanowski today is part of my campaign team, and through her help, we have hopefully made it so that William R. Smith is not going to be on the ballot. For that, the Ohio Democratic Party in 2016 unanimously endorsed me as their candidate over their primary winner. That had never been done before. That made the national news. That went out on the AP wire. And you would really think that the Ohio Democratic Party and the local parties would be in my corner. That is not the case. I have received no funds. The DCCC, which funds the legislative candidates, has not called me to say hello, to come to Washington and talk to them. I will admit that at R+9, we may not be in their sights. I'm not going to hold my breath on it, and that is why it is so very important that every single one of you, every single one of all the Democrats that I talk to, please go on our website, give us a little support. That monthly recurrent investment of $5, $10, something you won't even miss, if it's multiplied, is amazing to our efforts, and we would really appreciate that. Yes.
I just wanted to go back to the discussion of people with a style like Cordray. I think it's on us to get that person's name out there. email, phone, whatever we can do with our friends, neighbors, and relatives, and, because it means a lot to me when somebody sends something to me and I know that person who sent it to me.
Yes, that personal touch. And since he's been in Washington, he doesn't, he's backed out of things a bit in the state itself, even though he has an incredible resume. Now my next group, Susan's got to talk.
It's hard for me to shut up. But this whole last year, I've been educating myself about the process, and one of the things I found out is the money, all those things that you get, then they want you to fill out a questionnaire and then you donate, none of that money ever goes to any candidate except some big shots. And if you want to support candidates, you have to send the money directly. And I think, to me, that was the most important message that I've learned in the last year, and money talks.
Yeah, as I said, I live on a fixed income, but I've been doing a monthly recurrent payment to the Sherrod Brown campaign for now a year. And so over a 2-year time frame, my little bit every single month does add up. And hopefully he appreciates that. All right. Okay, our next group, and I know we're probably running out of time, but I want to talk about character and integrity. Who'd have thought that we ever needed to talk about that? Who'd have thought? When I get to know all the candidates, all the Hamilton County, the council candidates for city council, the mayoral candidates, all the candidates, I'm always astounded at the high level of everything, intelligence, integrity, everything I want in a candidate. I'm astounded and so impressed by the people that I meet that are candidates, most of the time. Not everybody, but most of the time. And so what I'd like is for each of you to get in your group, we'll just do a 3-minute thing again. Tell me what you want as far as character, integrity, values, what traits about the inner part. This is the inner part. We talked about the outer part of people. What about that inner part? What do you want to see? And how can you find out about it? 3 minutes. This will be our last question.
Nobody's going to be honest
Active participation.
someone else, which is what questions
You don't have to wait for me. I'll leave in 3 things. One of which, it's an alliteration. Principles, passion, then responsive to the question of
Unless what really is appreciating it's concerned or upset I feel like that's yeah. It turns out that most countries observe this usually because not have regulated at the country level and at the multinational level. And the idea that somebody that and someone has to take care of you for the first 2 years of life. Right now, you're not self-made. So
And your last year is like
Setting the high bar on delivering on your promises and all of that. I mean, there comes a point where
Okay, I'm gonna break in at this point. I heard a lot of good things there. You all are so wise. You are. I heard throughout the groups, honesty, but how do you figure out how honest someone is? Because, I mean, our current representative in OH2, what he says sounds great. I mean, you listen to him and you think, oh, that sounds pretty good. But then he's the poster child for Two-Face, and he does exactly the opposite. And someone said, I wonder who writes his stuff. And that's the thing is, I don't think it's him. I think it's someone who, gosh, we'd probably agree with. I heard, how do you figure out what that character is? And I heard over and over again that it's through the track record. It's through what they've done in the community. It's not the talk, it's the walk. And if you can't prove the walk, then you can't prove that you are trustworthy at all. Sure.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. Work on that.
Let me say, you should work on that, because I don't see anything that very much that Winstrup has done for anybody.
No, I would think that his donors, the billionaire buddies, yeah, they're applauding for sure. That's for sure. And then, let's see. Karen, you had an interesting thought. It's not coming to me, but tell me what you just said.
What did I just say? I think that we want our candidates to have a track record of something, whether it's political or something else. And I think integrity is really important. But I think they do have to have that spark. They have to convince us that they will represent what is in the best interest of the people. And that they've got that power, and sometimes you're too quiet.
Yeah, in fact, Dick was talking about it too. There's kind of a top-down model where people tell us what to do, and there's a grassroots model where we listen to the collective wisdom, and we figure out what we need to do, the course of what we need to do by what we're hearing. And now it's hard to get a representative sample, it really is. And that's something maybe Marcia can give me some help on that, is how we scientifically can really tell what's happening out in the district. I plan to hold town halls, and you know what? They're going to be just like this. They're not going to be me talking and people screaming at me. They're going to be discussions somehow. Somehow we're going to make it done. And I thank you all so very much today. Let's go over what we decided. We decided that with celebrities, oh, maybe it's okay, maybe not. We want to elect people who are going to win. That makes sense. We don't want our sacrificial lambs out there. We want to make people win, or want people who can win, but maybe we ought to help them win. That a candidate does not need to fund their own campaign, that we will take that on as a group effort. Track record, yes, we absolutely want that, because that's how we know when someone is walking their talk, and that their experience in the community, that they're prepared for the job. We can find that out. Someone's talked about why it's so important for the community forums, where we really get to know our candidates, where they sit down with us and talk it over with us, that's helpful as well. We want them to be engaged with the people. We want them to have an understanding of what the job requires. We want people to look their best. Sorry when I'm in my sweaty t-shirt, but there it goes, it's real. Age is mixed. Yes, we want to encourage young candidates. Hopefully you realize that wisdom and fresh ideas are a really great combination. That we want maybe to expand what our rising stars are, that they don't have to be male models, that they can actually be female and I guess equal representation, so that our elected officials look like us. And the style, yeah, you know what, we want to be inspired. We want to be inspired. Maybe that's something that those of us who you know don't get a lot of inspiration on a day-to-day basis, maybe that's something we crave. I think we do. We crave. Hey, oh yeah. We crave inspiration. We crave community, and so there are some things that in our soul we'd like. As we close today, I want to give you a reading assignment. Reading assignment. This is a tough one to listen to. It's on Hoopla, which is free through your library. It could take you 11 hours to listen to this, so you can multitask with your other tasks during the day. I do it while I'm driving the district. That's how I get my reading done. I listen to NPR and I listen to audiobooks. And it's called The Righteous Mind. Some of you may have read it. The Righteous Mind, Why Good People, I think, Disagree on Politics and Religion, something like that. The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, H-A-I-D-T. It is a hard listen because it talks about our moral matrices, the gut feelings we have about absolutely everything that forge our decisions about politics especially. It's hard to listen. Some of these moral situations are truly, truly disgusting. But I found it to be very revealing as I'm going out in the electorate and trying my best to be as empathetic and accepting as I can, even in situations that disgust me or ideas that disgust me. I encounter some really rough things out there. And so I had a lot of aha moments in this, and I hope that you will too. Marlene?
I don't know if this was a question that, we just talked about over here briefly, and it was brought up at a workshop I went to for people who are thinking of running for office and maybe have never entertained the idea before. And the question was, what are you prepared to lose the election over? What stances do you hold so strongly that you will not waver on them and you will stick with it even if it means you don't win?
Yes, and this is a subject of controversy with the party too. The one issue, if I can do absolutely nothing else in Congress, if every single one of you has quality health care that you can afford, both as a patient and a taxpayer, that gives you great outcomes, if I can do that for every single one of you in my district and across the country, I will have achieved everything as far as I'm concerned. So I will not give up on that. I will work very hard for that, for our country. That's my issue. Thanks so much.
I'm wondering if you feel
Almost the
supported by
question
the
you
Dems. Sometimes they pick their candidate
I'd like that
insiders,
question.
and then someone who's not an insider
What are
is
you prepared to
not really
lose?
paying attention to.
Yes, and that's a problem with me being from Claremont County. I'm finding that although I was endorsed by the Hamilton County Democratic Party last election, and the Claremont, and the Brown, and the Scioto, and the Ross counties, I didn't get to Pike and Highland, but I feel that I'm considered an outsider to that party, even though I'm very much a part of this district. Been here since 1989, taking care of the women and the veterans of this district. I do feel like an outsider, and that's a source of I guess if anything gets me down, that lack of support is it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll get this on.
I don't know. It's not, you'll have to see on the ballot, because so far, I'm the only one with the, petition.
So I wanted to mention two things really quickly. Number one, anything that you're doing that is perceived to be a weakness or not what you should do, I think needs to be turned into a strength. Example, you're not taking money from PACs and large corporate donors, and I think you should run on that. Make that a strength.
I agree.
And the other thing that I have observed, I was given a task to watch and Wenstrup's website for a while. And what I observed is everything he says is about business owners in his district.
Yeah.
He always talks about, I met with these business owners and I heard their concerns. I never see him say, I met with this group of voters or individuals. And I think that could be something you run on as well.
Absolutely.
He did a year ago today.
And there we got it.
Well,
Folks, Janet Everhard. And you proved to me again that you are a wonderful group with wonderful questions and great support. Let's see if we can get some small donations going from this group. We have good things coming up. Next week, Mr. Burrell is going to be here talking about transportation, which you should have learned in this discussion during lunches, that transportation is incredibly important to our county and our city and everything about getting people employed. We need transportation, and he says we can get it for free. Now, I really want to hear this guy. He can make it pay for itself. And following that, we have our own Karen and Dick Galloway, who are going to be presenting on Move to Amend. And we have, that's going to be great. And also in the Move to Amend group is Sid, who is our youngest Democrat. Let's hear it for the upcoming generation. He's with his sister Sophia and his mother Deb, who's on the Move to Amend group. They all stay afterwards and try to take money out of politics. God bless all of them. Let's see, there's food. Make sure the food gets taken away. We shouldn't waste any of that. Make sure it goes home and doesn't get thrown out. Question?
Oh, sure, Brian.
Just quickly, you mentioned Sid. Sid wanted everybody to know that one of the qualities he wants to see in a candidate, of course he can't speak, but he showed it to me when he grabbed a chicken thing, tasted it, and saw I didn't have one, and immediately said, here, you need one of these. Now, so I think unselfishness and generosity is, we could stick on the board there. Thank you, Sid.
All right, thank you, Sid.
That's our future. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Sid. Come on back. We've got a good future in our presentation here. Have a good week.